time, the east side of Wichita Falls was a center of prosperity, equipped with its own grocery stores, doctors' offices, and businesses. Anything you would expect to find in a community you call home. Well, if you drive around the east side these days, you'll see things look a little bit different. So how do we get the area back to the way it once was? Well, that's what myself and photojournalist Curtis Jackson and Josh Rowe looked into for this Black History Month special, honoring the past, present, and future of the east side.
When we grew up, of course, it was a place where there was a lot of hope, a lot of joy, and the people were very protective of one another.
Well, growing up for me, it was like Eastside was just a big family. Like everybody looked out for each other. Everybody, you know, if I got in trouble before I got home, my mom knew it. I walked through the door, I'm already in trouble. A lot of things have changed since just the 90s, I guess. Yeah, just since the 90s.
It was a vibrant, very vibrant community. And it really took the whole village to raise one child. And the people of the community really did that.
Because we could see store owners. Everywhere there was a store owner. You could see barber shops, you could see beauty shops, you could see grocery stores.
But you name it, we had it on the east side back in those days.
It's the 1950s and the east side of Wichita Falls is in its prime. Businesses were booming. The neighborhood school, Booker T. Washington, was prosperous, graduating notable alum year after year. Life was good.
The teachers and the churches, they tried to maintain a community and tried to elevate life in spite of the segregation that existed around us.
If you ask Reverend Angus Thompson, he refers to it as the good old days.
Well, I remember Eastside as being self-contained. As a matter of fact, we had grocery stores, drug stores.
Thompson is one of many elders who got to see the east side in its heyday. But perhaps who those prosperous times had an even bigger impact on was the youth.
The east side was self-contained. We didn't have to leave. You had restaurants, gas stations, grocery stores. As far as we had to go was downtown. If we wanted to go shopping for clothes, we just cross over tracks, come right back.
For Byron Lacey, it was the success he saw center stage coming up that inspired him to open up his own business. A barber academy, to be exact.
This was always my ultimate goal. You know, when I stepped into a barber school, it was like a light switch. Somebody flicked a switch. Like I was like, this is what I want to do. This was something that my people needed. You know, so I was like, let me go ahead and see what happens. If it fails, it fails. If it don't, at least I tried.
For Lacey, he's making his and other barbers' dreams come true.
Plus, it's the first, Black-owned school here. And I looked at it from that point of view, too. I wanted to be a part of history. I didn't want to ride the wave. I just wanted to be a part of history.
But of course, the laughs and heart-to-heart talks we see at the Academy now couldn't have been possible without the sacrifices made by those before him.
There was a barber school downtown on Ohio. And at that time, that was during segregation, and black people couldn't go to school there. And so they have to leave and go off somewhere else to get their barber license.
Throughout the 40s and 50s, much of the South was still segregated, and racial discrimination was everywhere. Wichita Falls was no exception.
I had to deal with racism. Then riding the bus to Midwestern, what I would do is I would sit in the middle of the bus, not in the back, but sit in the middle. The bus driver would look back, to give a sign, you ought to be in the back. What I would do, I would sit next to the window. I said, if you stop this bus, you have to come back here. But I refused to move any farther.
Across the tracks was a different world back then. But on the east side, there was one place that brought everyone, and I mean everyone, together.
If we didn't have Booker T, I don't think we would have had anything, because it definitely was the heartbeat of the community.
But part of the happy part, the joy, is being a Booker T. Washington leopard. And I say this, once a leopard, always a leopard. We will die with leopard blood flowing through our veins.
The school was the neighborhood focal point. Businesses developed around it, further cementing its place at the center of Wichita Falls' African American community.
Booker T still means something to us.
But in 1969, a shift would come in the form of integration.
In 54, that passed, Brown versus the Board of Education. And I remember sitting up one day in the classroom wondering, what would it be like? What would it be like when we go to school together? I didn't know where Old High was. I'd never been in that part of our city.
In 1969, Booker T. Washington students would have to go to one of the other high schools. The school that graduated notable alum like Arthur B. Williams, Charlie O. Ferris, and even a current U.S. Congressman, Emanuel Cleaver, would be no more. For the students, this transition was everything but easy.
It was horror. It was horror. We heard they weren't received as well as they should have been.
When Booker T. Washington High School closed, the heart of the East Side community beat a little slower.
The heart and soul of the community was sucked out. And, it's hard to live without a heart.
What once was a vibrant part of town where African Americans could go began to fade.
To see a lot of that stuff not there anymore is like a big wake-up call. And it's like, what do we do now to get all that stuff back? Like, how do we bring that family-oriented atmosphere or that community back together?
It's now a smaller shell of what it once was, but residents like Brenda Jarrett say they won't give up on their home.
The community was self-sufficient, and it still is. It's a little ragged, and it's because of the war or things that they're going through.
But if we all come together, great things can be done.
We got to come back together. We got to figure out a way to get back together and pull our resources together, because we do have the resources. The resources are here. Now it's just I feel like we got to set our pride aside. Everybody wants to feel like it was I did this, I did that. But if we put that aside and come together and pull our resources together, including the churches, so I think a lot of that stuff we can get it back to what it once was. We had movie theaters, we had everything. We didn't need anything on the east side. We didn't have to leave. And I think we can get back to that.
So each one, teach one. Get involved in your community and think of fun and exciting things you'd like to see there and put some action behind it.
We must unite. We must show love. If we can do those two things, we're home free. I just see a very bright future for the East Side community. It is a representative of me, so I'm involved in whatever I can be to make sure it gets to the level that we know it can. Miracles happen when you act with love and unity.
Because we have the potential to do anything we put our minds to, and the resilience of our people is something to admire. And a community with rich Black history like this one deserves to live on. We'll be right back.